What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This one is going to be a follow-up on this Invicta 8926 Pro Diver. Well, actually, I say follow-up, but it's not really because I never actually reviewed this watch. I bought this watch in 2011, so around 7 years ago. It was featured in one of my videos. As, I think it's called Tagged Sounds of EDC. The reason I never reviewed this watch is simply I bought this on an impulse, and it was supposed to be for just a beater watch. It wasn't really supposed to be a serious part of my collection, you know, and I thought this watch would stop running or something would happen to it because, you know, the watch is under $90. I mean, yeah. So, but before I get into this watch, I want to show everybody something. I want to share this with you. I want to share with you my very first watch ever. And this is this Timex here. It's a Timex Ironman something quartz movement, obviously, stainless steel case, made in Korea. So this watch was given to me by my dad, and I don't even think I was in the double digits when he gave this to me, but I wore this. Well, I wore the crap out of it, as you can tell. Oh boy, look at that big old chunk taken out of the case there. But I love this watch, and you know, my dad was into watches as well. He didn't have a huge collection, but he liked watches. He liked timepieces, and that's what kind of got me started as well. But anyways, thought I'd share my very first watch ever is this Timex. But anyways, today is about the Invicta 8926, and before I move on, I just want to show you if I can maneuver my iPad underneath this camera here. The 8926 is not an expensive watch, as you can tell. There's kind of two styles. You got this one with the kind of a smooth, you know, bezel, diving bezel, and then you got the one that I have that has more of a knurled or kind of a bottle cap bezel, if you will. But you can look at the price of these things. I mean, under $85, and then you just add some tax on there, which Amazon does now. You can hardly do worse. Okay, so anyways, get that out of the way. So these feature Japanese movements, as far as I understand. All right, and while I always say Invicta, very few people are going to scream extremely high quality. But let's face it, they make some really nice watches, even though on their lower model or whatever of the lineup, it's hardly like, you know, scream worthy. Let's put it that way. As you can tell, this is kind of a Rolex inspired looking watch. Actually, every single part of it is kind of Rolex inspired. But either way, it's a very, very nice watch. So I'll just preface everything with that. I was at Sam's Club for $99.89 or $98.89. I picked this watch up in the store as an impulse buy. And again, I had no high expectations of it, but look at it. 7 years later, I still wear it. I still rotates into my EDC, and the thing still runs. This is unbelievable. Full automatic movement. It claims water resistance up to 200 meters. Okay, here's a shot of the rotor. See the balance wheel. Or is that the balance wheel? Well, oh, hey guys, you know what? I gotta let you guys know, I am not a hardcore watch person. I love watches. I like looking at them. I like wearing them. Specifically love wearing them. But I don't get into the horology. I don't get into the movement. I know nothing about that kind of stuff. So please take that into account, that I'm purely a watch user, basically. So this is from a user standpoint. Here's your model number, 8926. Kind of a bland looking rotor, but what do you expect for, you know, well, right now, currently under $90. The links are not solid. The end links are not solid, that is. This does feature micro adjustments, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. Anyway, so I picked this up with not a high expectation, and guess what? This watch is fairly accurate, on par with some of my Seikos, and it is very surprising for a watch that costs, you know, 5 times less than some of my other watches, and in some cases 10 times less than some of my other watches. All right, so this has the knurling on the timing bezel. It's got lume dot up here at the 0 mark, and then you got lume all the way around. You got lume on the hands, lume on the seconds. The seconds isn't a extremely smooth sweeping motion, but whatever. And there's a magnifying piece on over the date. This is not a hackable movement. It is a screw down crown, however, so that's very pleasant. After the years, the screw down crown is not as you know, smooth. But otherwise, you pull it out to the first position and oops, come on. And then you can adjust the date, as you can see. And you notice how I have the hands pulled all the way out, and see the second hand does not stop, but now you can actually adjust the time. And then once you're done, you can screw it down. So it is, by most definitions, a diving watch. All right. It does have a signed crown, and it also has a signed case, which this is probably the only part that I'm not really crazy about, is this giant Invicta name right on the side of the case, right? For some reason, this just kind of takes it a little bit away from me, away from the watch for me, because it's just kind of gaudy. It's just really, it's not classy to me anymore with this thing on it. But hey, you know, again, for $90, you can do much, much worse. It's very clean looking dial. I really like the looks of this. Again, it's, you know, obviously copied off of a Rolex. The links and the casing have, here's some polish on the side of the casing, brushed on the top of the case. We got the polish in the middle of the links and then brushed on the outer parts of the links. We have a signed clasp. It is a fold over. And you can tell there are micro adjustments on there. Now you can tell I have some pretty small petite wrists, and tell you what, speaking of which, let's just slap this on my tiny little wrist, and then you guys can see, again, this is a 40 mil case, and you can see it just fits me perfectly. I mean, for me, 40 to 42 is really the sweet spot for my wrist, at least, you know, and it fits just fine. And if you want to, I'll give you guys an example of what a really large Invicta, well, not even really large, but just like kind of like the medium-sized Invictas, because you know Invictas can go over 50 mil. This is, I believe, is a 46 mil, the Invicta Grand Diver, and basically the same kind of style. I'm not too sure if it's the same movement or not. This one, oops, sorry, has a little bit more decoration on the rotor itself. Oh, what is this? This is a model number 19273 Grand Diver, but you know, it's beautiful. It's got you can kind of hard to see, but this is blue and brushed metal. The timing bezel and the dial is blue ish, and you can tell the huge difference. And when I slap this on my wrist, this has a really chunky firm bracelet. But you can tell it just gets a little ridiculous on my wrist. Now, I bought it because I really like the looks of it. I was kind of into that big watch phase at the time. And now I don't really even wear this Grand Diver anymore. I probably really should sell it. But I do like to keep it around for my collection. But let's face it, this Pro Diver on my left hand is just amazing. And actually, let me put these down for a second. Let me bring out my Seiko Samurai. You guys can see, so we got 40 mil in my left hand. The Seiko is about a 44, I think, and then you got the Grand Diver coming at 46. So I can get away with the Seiko because 44 is getting a little too large for my wrist anyhow. But the Grand Diver, no. I mean, it's tall, it's huge, it's heavy. I feel like I'm lifting weights every time I have the Grand Diver on, and yeah, it just doesn't quite work out very well. And the last watch I'm going to bring out, of course, is my dad's old Seiko 5. This thing still runs. There you go. It still runs. It's still obviously a very cherished part of my collection. I still wear it from time to time. And it gets rotated in just like this Invicta Pro Diver. But the Seiko 5 here, I believe, is a 38, maybe 38, 37, 38. Yeah, probably about that. You can tell it's a more classy gentleman size for back in the 70s. If I slap this on my wrist, you can tell this fits me just perfect. I mean, it's not too small, it's not too large. I can rock this. I don't really need like a really tall, you know, Flavor Flav looking watch on my wrist. You know, with whatever people are into these days. It's not gaudy. It doesn't have a whole lot of anything going on. It's just a nice, clean, minimalist timepiece, which is something I really, really like. And the Invicta, in many ways, embodies that kind of a minimalist, clean-looking diving style watch that I really like as well. So let's get that out of the way. So in short, I have to say that for 7 years of service, you know, under my care, this watch has performed admirably. It is fairly accurate. it is just as accurate as some of my Seikos. The movement's a little loud, yes, you know, and the bracelet is a little loud, yeah, but again, you can really hardly do worse for under $90. It's a beater watch. Is, you know, it's not going to have like the same prestige as say like a Rolex or an Omega or an Oris or, you know, any of those higher name brands that have some similar looking watches, but well, I should say this is similar to those watches. But let's face it, you know, if you just want a watch that you can just wear on a daily basis, not give a crap what happens to it, and then, you know, just replace it, because I mean it's only $90. In fact, if you look at the crystal here, so the dial is actually black. So just like this, oops, wrong watch. They all look the same. Just like this Invicta Grand Diver, this is supposed to be blue. So it's supposed to have a black, kind of like a dark blue bezel and a dark blue dial. Well, the blue on the bezel came out a little bit more black than anything, but you can tell it's blue on the links here, or the bracelet, I mean. So it's a little blue-ish. Now this is supposed to be black bezel, black dial. However, over the years, you can tell it kind of fogged up a little bit, right? Because it's not as clear. You can't really see all the way to the dial as clear as when I first got it 7 years ago. Now I have thought about replacing the crystal, but I thought, hey, what's the point, right? Because it's, you know, it's like a sub $100 watch. Why even bother? I could do it myself, or, you know, I gotta pay someone to do it for me, or I could just go buy a brand new one of these, and you know, they'll have a perfectly clear crystal. But that may just be stupid. Oddly enough, my dad's old, you know, Seiko from the 70s has a perfectly clear crystal. Which, anyways, I don't know what I'm gonna do about the crystal yet, but I think I'm just gonna keep it as is, because let's face it, it's still readable. It's annoying, but it's still readable. And again, it has served me very well. So aside from the crystal fogging up and everything, this is still a very well functioning watch, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do: tell time and tell it fairly accurately. And once you wind it up, this watch will run for the entire day and into most of the next day as well. Not, you know, the power reserve isn't as much as my Seikos or anything like that, but it is still, you know, you wear it every single day, it's still going to run. So no big deal there. The one thing I forgot to show everybody was a lume. So this is the Invicta Pro Diver in my left hand, and then of course my Seiko Samurai. Obviously the lume is not going to be as great as what Seiko can normally do, but you know, for the money, this thing is still pretty damn good. You can tell it's still pretty, let's see here, pretty solid. You'll still be able to read it. You can charge it, and it's very readable, very legible. However, it doesn't last very long. Not like the Seikos. You can already tell it's kind of not as bright anymore. Even just a few seconds I've held it under the camera, while the Seiko one just keeps going. But anyways, there it is. There's the lume on this. I think I rambled on long enough. So if you got any questions or comments, please leave it below. Aside from that, take care, have a nice day, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.